So this is introduction part 2, I guess. So I was talking about the attendance policy. Make sure that you're there 25% of the time. I'm sorry, sorry about that. You're there 75% of the time. You can only miss 25%, and you know, that's about 8 classes. I think I mentioned that before. And if you miss that much, it's really hard to pass the class anyway. So you know, it's virtually impossible. So if you do miss a test date, try not to, of course, but if you do, there has to be documentation. Generally, I'll get the dean involved, the dean of students involved, to try to verify that the documentation is correct. There are reasons, of course, that any student athletes that you don't have to produce any documentation, because I'll get emails from the athletic department. If you have Model UN, I'll generally get a email or two from some staff or faculty member. Music recitals, these are just different reasons that people have had in the past. An art exhibition, and of course there has to be documentation. Generally it's an email from a staff or faculty member, so those don't count against you at all. This is from the Department of Disabilities. If you need to, for example, take the test in the test center, that's perfectly fine, and they have paperwork you have to fill out, and make sure that I get that paperwork, and know that you're going to take the test in the test center, which is absolutely fine, no problem at all. All right, so course requirements. This is basically how I determine your grade at the end of the semester. There's test 1, test 2, test 3. Each of those count as 15%. Those are on a 100-point scale. Now the homework, as you saw, there's a whole bunch of different homeworks throughout the semester. This is, of course, just for lecture stuff. There's no homework for the chapter challenges. That's kind of stands on its own. So these are the homework for the 3 tests. That counts as 10% of your total grade. The written component is basically 2 essays. Well, it's a little bit more than that, actually. For each of the tests, there are one page of handwritten notes. So basically, you don't have to memorize any equations or anything like that. So during test 1, for example, on September 21st, you will have already created a 1-page handwritten study guide. It has to be handwritten, that's really important, and you bring that in and you get to use that during the test, and then you staple it to the back of the test at the end, when you're getting ready to turn it into the folder. And the same thing with test 2, same thing with test 3. You get a 1-page handwritten study guide. We of course go over the test the next day, the next class period, and then the final exam, which here are the 3 final exams. The one for the 001 section, the 2 o'clock section will be Wednesday, December 7th at 3 p.m. It meets in the in the lecture room, Sims 209, as all these do. The next one, of course, is the 3:30 class. They're going to meet Monday, the 12th of December at 3 o'clock, and then the 5 o'clock section will meet on the 10th, which is a Saturday, December 10th, at 3 p.m. In the lecture room. All right, so the thing about the final exam is, unlike the 3 tests, you get to bring in 2 pages of handwritten notes, just to let you know. And and the handwritten notes on all of these, it's the front and the back counts as 1 page. Okay, so make sure that you're aware of that. Here's the written component. Like I said, that is mostly the two essays, but you're going to turn in a page of handwritten notes for each test, as well as 2 pages for the final, and that also goes into your written component. All right, and then of course the chapter challenges. So there's 10 chapter challenges. 9 of them are worth 100 points, and then the last one, chapter challenge 10, is worth 200 points because that's the final, as it were, for the chapter challenges. And so it's basically, it's going to be 25% of whatever you get, your total. I mean, you just think about it. You have 10 chapter challenges for a total number of points of 1,100 points, and so it's whatever you get out of 1,100. You take your total, which, by the way, you'll be able to see your homework total, this homework total, and your chapter challenge total. I have a way of doing that on Blackboard, so you'll actually be able to see what your chapter challenge total is and your homework total at any time during the semester, and of course at the end of the semester. So whatever you have out of 1,100, and then that's a fraction, and then you multiply that fraction by 100, and that puts you on a 100-point scale. And so you multiply whatever that is by 0.25, because that's I'll show you how to do this calculation towards the end of the semester. So that gives you a numerical value, right? Using all of these, that'll give you a numerical value. And how do I change that into a letter grade? So what I do is I take whatever that numerical value is, and I use Excel. The normal rules of rounding apply, as it says right here. We don't get creative or anything like that. It's just whatever Excel. When I round it to the nearest whole number, whatever Excel tells us, that's what the grade is. Okay. So anyhow, A is 100 through 92. As you can see, the minus is only a two-point spread here from 91 to 90, and then the B's. There's a B plus, which is a 3-point range. There's the B, and then there's a B minus. I don't include a C minus or a D minus, as you can see. And then F is really anything below 60%. Make sure read the rest of this. Make sure you don't plagiarize, and there's a whole bunch of things in here that people send me and says, make sure that you include this in your syllabus. So it's all there. Okay, so here's general science stuff if you want to read all that. There's for victims, there's a statement in here. Global learning. Yeah. Oh, and then we. What's this one? Let's see. This is. This is the students, the Academic Success Center. They do hire people, by the way, from this class, and that actually looks pretty. And they pay them pretty good. And at the end of the semester, if you are in the A range and want to tutor your fellow elementary education majors, then that looks really good on your resume. So that's something you might want to think about for the future. So this is for this particular semester, the 3 sections. This is just the schedule, which I have also. Instead of having like the whole syllabus, I also have it right here, just the schedule. Okay, so that I just pasted it onto the syllabus as well. But here, let's go over it since I already got it up here. Notice that all the homeworks are due at 2 o'clock. The chapter challenges are always due on Wednesdays at a minute before midnight. So the first chapter challenge is just assigned on the 24th of August, and so that won't be due until the next, the Wednesday, which is for this semester. It's going to be August 31st. So a minute before midnight on August 31st, and I'll remind you of this in class ad nauseum to make sure that you've submitted that chapter challenge. Okay, so and you can see as time goes on, when we have test 1, there's no chapter challenge due that week. This is just assigning the next chapter challenge, which will be due the following week. All right, and so forth. Then there's the whole semester. There's our fall break. There's the first essay is due. I'll show you that in just a moment, or where those are. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but there's our Thanksgiving break. There's test 3, and there's the review for the final, which is, of course, the last day of class. And notice we have essay 2 due the last day of class as well. These are, again, the 3 dates for the final exams. Let's see, let's go back to the, oops, wrong way. There it is. I was going to show you, notice in the yellow part is called the content area in Blackboard. Not that that matters, but here's the essays. You can see there, once it comes up, there's the first one, and there's instructions in here, and you submit it. Here, I'll open it up. Notice this one's due October 19th. This one's due December 5th, the last day of class. And it's basically 3 pages, 750 words, as it says somewhere on here. Oh, it's in the instructions. Okay, so the instructions tell you you're going to submit it here. Oops, excuse me, right here, just like you would. Now make sure this one's in Word, because that makes things much easier. Anyhow, you submit that here, and now this is what they call a safe assignment. If you're unfamiliar with it, it's very similar to what they do in Turnitin, where it looks out into the internet to make sure you're not copying stuff. What I do is I give you a free 25%, so that if you do happen to copy some stuff, it doesn't that won't affect your grade. But every point above 25%, when it does the percent matching, and it once you submit it, it'll take a little bit of time, but then it'll basically spit back a percent matching, and so you want to be at 25% or below that. If you're over, let's say it spits back 26%, and you don't submit another essay, then what I would do is, for each point above 25, I would take off 1 point. So you'd get that's as long as everything else is fine. That is, you wrote your 750 words, and you have a works cited at the very end, and so forth. I should say this as well about about not just the essay, but the chapter challenges. I guess I should have said this at the very beginning, but the chapter challenges, which are more or less weekly, the homeworks, which are due just about every class period. You have an infinite number of times that you can submit those, and the way I set up Blackboard is it only grades the highest, whatever the highest grade is counts. Okay, so I have to go through and look and grade each thing that you submit. So try not to submit a whole bunch of homework 1s, for example. If you can avoid it, I mean, I can deal with it. But anyhow, the only grade that you'll see on Blackboard that counts as your grade is the highest grade. If, for example, if homework one, here, let's look at this again, counts as, I can't remember what it counted, how many points it counted for. Here, let's take a quick look at it. Oh, it's 20 points. Okay, so you're going to submit homework 1 by Monday. What day is Monday? Monday, the 29th. Okay, so remember, before 2 o'clock, you click right here and you submit that, either a Word document, right? You can use this, or a JPEG, or a PDF. And if you do use a JPEG and you just took a picture, make sure I can read what the work is. If I can't read it, and you can go back into homework 1 and you can read it too. Anyhow, You can submit these as many times as you want, and before the due date, and then